Because it was more than just freeing a couple people. This revolution freed the entire nation from slavery. Hello Kings and Queens and welcome back. My name is Fatima, aka African Diva, and I'm here to provide you with knowledge about Africa. Or basically anything that has to do with black folks. Alright, with that said, let's get right to it. The Haitian Revolution took place in 1791 on the western half of a Caribbean island. The French colonized it and were thriving off of it. Haiti produced 60% of the world's coffee and 50% of the sugar that was consumed at that time. The society on this island was structured in such a way where at the top you had the Grand Blanc, aka white plantation owners, followed by the Petit Blanc, who were the working class / civil servants and took care of the administration. But you also had free people of color who were often very wealthy and also owned plantations. And at the bottom of this hierarchy, you had the enslaved Africans, which made up 90% of the entire population. Almost 500,000 people were forced to work on these plantations under inhumane conditions. And when I say inhumane, I mean brutal to the bone. The typical lifespan for an African that arrived on this island was no longer than 2 to 3 years before they died of the hard labor and the punishments they had to endure. Babies that were born into the colony usually didn't make it past the age of 16. But the slave owners really couldn't care less. In their heads, it made more sense to simply replace the dead ones with freshly captured Africans than to create sustainable life conditions by providing proper food or clothing. 1791, in the night of August 13, is when there was a gathering of enslaved people that came up with a plan to start a revolt. And within a week, hundreds of fields and plantations were set on fire. The goal was to destroy the slave economy. The French government, of course, didn't like that at all, so they sent their army down to the island. But they couldn't manage to stop the revolts. On top of that, the French were currently at war with the British and the Spanish, who also sent their troops down to the island. It was Toussaint Louverture who emerged as the leader of the enslaved. He allied himself with the Spanish in order to defeat the French. 3 years after the start of the revolution, in 1794, the French finally abolished slavery. Louverture turned into an excellent politician and managed to play 3 empires against one another. The mountainous geography of the island and the spread of illnesses like yellow fever also helped in putting the French, the Spanish, and the British down. Most people that fought in this revolution were enslaved Africans and their descendants. But then, 5 years later, Napoleon rises to power. And he, of course, wanted to reinstall slavery. So he attacks the island by sending troops, arresting Toussaint Louverture, deporting him to France only to kill him there. But that only brought the free people of color and the former enslaved closer together. They united and forced the French out. So in January 1804, they officially declared independence. 14 years after the revolution started. That's why the Haitian Revolution is such a monumental world event. Because it was more than just freeing a couple people. This revolution freed the entire nation from slavery. Other colonies in the world went on for many more decades of exploitation and pain. For example, Brazil hasn't abolished slavery until 1888. Although Haiti managed to set themselves free, the struggle hasn't really ended. Because the world powers punish them for daring to be free, by continuously weakening their economy till this present day. Alright Kings and Queens, that was it for today. As always, thank you so much for watching and listening through. I'm happy to see you next Thursday, and if you haven't already, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you next week.